So I'm going to try to break this down to segments. So you got into the DK200, and now you're thinking all sorts of different things. One of the things you're thinking is, how do I train for the DK200? First thing is, if you're thinking about doing the DK200, train as if you're doing it well before you know you're doing it. On the downside, you don't get in, but you still trained and you feel strong and you're riding strong, and you can pick another event to do, or just, you've gotten a jump start to your season, which is, there's no downside to that. You start early and you get in, mentally you're kind of already there. You have a game plan. You're gonna now follow your training program up until the race, and you'll feel good, hopefully. What I did, I was gonna wing it, and then I was out. We have a local bike club that my store sponsors, or is one of the sponsors of, and I was chatting with a friend of mine, Megan, who is a multi-time Ironman finisher. So I trust, her viewpoint on things like training. She had mentioned Training Peaks, which I'd heard of, but I'd never really done anything on. I've never really trained for anything before. I just like riding my bike a lot, and that's pretty much what I did. So, after that night, I went home, got on Training Peaks, signed up. When I was on there, I searched for DK200 training programs. I found one, I bought it, and then I was like, it says who created it, so maybe I'll reach out to him and sort of pick his brain a little bit and see what's going on, and maybe I'm just gonna hire him as my coach versus just doing the program that he wrote. So it was Kyle Coaching. I reached out, super nice, chatted for a while, told him exactly what was going on, what I was trying to do, what I wanted to do, and I ended up signing up for sort of the silver program with him, which I think is, he basically gives me all the training week by week. He looks at my numbers, we chat once a month for an hour, and I keep going from there. And I can't say more about, taking the training aspect serious. And you can do it yourself, you can figure it out yourself, it's all well and good. But I found it extremely helpful to have someone just tell me what to do. I'd look at my day, I'd look at my week, and I would figure out what I had to do that day, and how to fit it in time-wise. Again, I live in Connecticut. I find out I'm doing the DK in January. There's still snow on the ground, it's cold out. So, luckily I have an indoor trainer. It's a smart trainer. It's a Wahoo KICKR. It's good. I have it set up in my basement. The basement's pretty comfy. I have a TV down there so I can watch things. We'll talk about that in a second. I have an old laptop down there so I connect right to Zwift. And Training Peaks, the program, the workouts go directly to the Zwift, which controls the smart trainer. So I'm able to do all the rides that I'm supposed to do that my coach has prescribed to me right there in my basement on Zwift, which was awesome. It's time consuming, just the training aspect of it. So I looked over my numbers on Strava, and during that period of time, I was averaging anywhere between 7 and 9 rides a week. And the time spent on the bike was anywhere between 13 and 17 hours a week. And I was averaging somewhere between 160 to 225, 230 miles a week. Now, that's kind of tricky, the miles thing, especially when you're on Zwift. I don't really count the miles as much, but the time's accurate, and that's the other thing is, mentally, sitting on your trainer for 5 hours or 6 hours on your long days is mentally challenging, which is awesome, because you're going to be sitting on your bike at the DK200 somewhere between, if you're super fast, 11 hours, and if you're not as super fast, 20 some odd hours. So doing a 5-hour training ride on your trainer in your basement, it's perfect training both physically and mentally, which is super important. One of the reasons that I loved Kyle coaching was that he had trained, Charles had trained other people in the past, other athletes in the past that had done the DK200 and had been successful with it. And he put me in contact with them. And that was huge help, you know, to talk to somebody that's already done the race firsthand, and sort of to get pointers. Got some great pointers. I think, you know, one of the best pointers I got from one of the guys that did it 2 years ago, who went out super hard in the beginning, got caught up in that lead pack, and basically blew up in the first, you know, 2-3 hours, and then spent a good chunk of the middle part of the day just trying to come back from that. Finally felt good near the end, but that affected the time he finished it in. I think the other thing is, and we'll talk more about this, drop bags, you know, what to bring, what not to bring. I paid for support, the charity support that's offered through the DK200, and they were awesome, by the way. Can't speak more highly of a group of volunteers. They were spot on. But I was thinking I was gonna have to bring all sorts of different types of food with me to be ready to sort of eat different things. But no, they had, you know, sort of a little smorgasbord there. I think one of my favorite things was peanut butter white bread with potato chips. You know, have half a sandwich like that at a stop. It sort of breaks up the monotony of the more prefab food that, you know, quite often we have to eat when we're on our bike. And it was just a nice switch, but I didn't have to bring it, which was awesome. And that, he's like, don't worry about it, don't bring it, don't sweat it. There'll be more than enough food for you to eat. You just worry about your nutrition on your bike, and you'll be good to go, which was awesome. I started training January 27th, I looked back. And by the time the race came around, I felt good. I felt strong on the bike. But I think it's important to mention that my objective was purely to finish. I had no set time. I'm not racing the sun. I'm not trying to go out with the lead group and stay with the lead group. I'm just going there to try to enjoy myself as much as possible, to finish. And maybe one of my objectives was to finish and feel okay. I'm not gonna kill myself on my bike. It's just not what I do. I like riding my bike, and I like riding it as hard as I can without killing myself. I should probably mention I finished in just under 16 hours, which I was super happy about. I'll be honest, there was a slight glimmer somewhere in there that I was like, geez, maybe I can beat the sun. But that didn't happen, and I'm okay with that, and I didn't really push myself that hard. If it was gonna happen, it was gonna happen. And in hindsight, I was really, really happy it didn't happen, because I got to ride probably the last hour-ish in the dark with a light, which was just a really, really cool experience to ride on those roads at night with a light. You know, it's starting to get cooler. It was a cool experience. So super happy with every aspect of how long it took, the fact that I finished in the dark. Yeah, it was awesome. So I think I covered most of the training stuff. Yeah, I'm sure I'll touch base on it more later.